I mean, I think that a lot of times people talk about building like it's a building. They talk about building software like we have an architect, we're going to lay a foundation, and then we can put up walls and that kind of stuff. Those analogies carry some weight, but I actually think it's more like a garden. You have to constantly pick weeds. You have to constantly, tend and prune and keep things clean for a healthy garden. So if your team skips good, that's basically saying I'm going to try to plant my garden in this just hostile, fertile, unkempt landscape instead of building a raised garden bed with some nice soil and putting down the right fertilizers and constantly pruning, right? So if you skip that good early, you quickly go into just all defects and firefighting, and it steals the value throughput of your future sprints. Instead of enjoying the fruits of your labor, you're just picking weeds the whole time. That's where tech debt comes in. Security gaps accrue, and those can be like expensive interest on your tech debt. Security gaps are going to be things that could be difficult to fix, difficult to remediate, and really expensive depending on your business if you have a breach or something like that. When you skip on the good, a good system, like I said earlier, a good system is made to be easy to change as the market, the future, the technology landscape, as those things change. If you don't build good to start, then making small changes gets harder and harder. Devs are afraid to touch things because they're fragile, they're tightly coupled. I change one thing, something else breaks. And we had a client years ago that was one of the Fortune 50 very large software companies. And we heard of a project there that seemed simple. It was changing pixels on the homepage. And they quoted it was going to take 9 months. The developers did. And the reason they did that, they said that was because there are so many things that are unintended consequences built up on just moving fast and cheap on this part of the system that they're going to take 6 months to plan doing it without breaking anything before they can even do anything. And we're just talking about something that from a stakeholder's perspective seems pretty simple, like change the color. So you really got to think that building a good foundation and focusing on the good in your initial build out, that stuff's going to last forever. You want it to be solid. It's like buying a cheap knockoff Shein coat that's going to last you a week for $10 or buying a $400 nice leather jacket that's going to last you the rest of your life. Buy something good quality and it'll last. And then I think one of the biggest consequences of teams skimping out on the good part of the triangle is that the good developers, the top engineers, their morale dips. They'd rather leave than prop up a brittle system. They'd rather work somewhere where it's fun to do the job and we're just not constantly fighting the sins of the past.